I just made a video about talking about a homeowners association issues. If you have a homeowners association or not, things to check and all that. You might want to check out that video. Well, this video, I'm going to talk about something else. I'm going to talk about fire sprinklers. You may say, hey, most houses nowadays don't have fire sprinklers throughout their house. Why on earth are you even talking about fire sprinklers? Well, in this location, we've got some hills. We've got some hills over there. And beyond those hills, there's the national or the different forests. I want to say national forest. I don't know what you call it, but it's a forest. And they have issues every once in a while. If you get a fire or something like that, and your house is built too close to here, wouldn't you want to know that and find out if you have to install fire sprinklers in here or not? Now, the funny thing is, and here's the reason why I'm telling you all this stuff. There's two jurisdictions over here, and I was talking to somebody about that the other day, and this house right here is not going to require fire sprinklers, and it happens even though it's one of the closest houses to all this over here, and the fires that start and come down here. Okay, it's closer than any of these other houses over here. Even though if you build a house on the other side of over here, you have to put fire sprinklers. Why is that? Well, in this particular area, the city doesn't require it, and this house happens to be in the city of a certain county, and then in another district beyond there, it's not the city line. The city line zigzags through here. It's the county line, and the county has their own requirements. Anytime you build a house fairly close to the area where you're next to a forest or so, and your house is zoned like that, and if it's a brand new house, now they require that you have fire sprinklers depending on the square footage, depending whether or not it's a 1-story or 2-story house, and there's all kinds of different things that go into play with that. Okay, but check that out just for your own benefit. When you submit your plans to the building department, your city or county, wherever you're going to submit them, and then ask yourself a few questions. Now see, here's what I would do if I was the owner of this property. I would, even though it's not required to put fire sprinklers in here, I would put them anyways. I don't know how much it would cost to run fire sprinklers in this house. I'm gonna guess $15,000, $18,000 maybe, with all the equipment and all that kind of stuff. Okay, but when you if you go and sell this house, now this owner, he's gonna have his son move in here or whatever, but even then, if they sell this house years down the road, he could then sell it and say, hey, we upgraded this house, we installed fire sprinklers. Wouldn't that be worth some extra money for somebody who wants to buy this house, who's concerned about possible fires coming down the mountain and all that kind of stuff? Don't you think you'd get your money back? Don't you think that if the person had to either buy this house or that house, and both houses were for sale, which house do you think he would buy? Probably buy the one with fire sprinklers if the next house didn't have fire sprinklers, if it was in an area where there's forest fires. Do you see what I'm saying? And so I would do that even if it wasn't a requirement. You can't really do it later. If you do it later and decide, oh yeah, that's a good idea, maybe I'll do that to my house. Well, then they have to come in through your attics. And if you don't have an attic in certain areas, how are you going to get it up into the ceilings? Do you have any underneath your house? Do you have any up in the attic? Whatever. What if your water line, if you saw on another video that I did, the water line that comes into this house is only 1.25 inches water. So if you decide later on, hey, let's put fire sprinklers in here, guess what? You probably don't have enough water pressure from the street coming into your house at 1.25 inches to allow for your fire sprinklers. Maybe you had to come in with a bigger line. So that's something that I, if I was the owner, I would have considered asking those questions, finding out, talking to a realtor and saying, hey, how much do you think this house would be worth if I sold it with fire sprinklers? Let's say I was building this as a spec house. And how much would do you think I could get more with fire sprinklers than not fire sprinklers? And they might say, oh, you could get $25,000 more. Well, maybe it only cost you $15,000 to install the system. Now you just made an extra $10,000 on this house. Have it be in a spec house, let's say. You see what I mean? So it's stuff like that you got to think about. And, you know, and if it was a spec house, and even if you didn't get any extra money, well, let's say you only got $5,000 extra and nothing more, you're going to sell this house much quicker with fire sprinklers than without fire sprinklers. It's considered an upgrade. When people hear that it's an upgrade, and yes, this house has fire sprinklers, the next house doesn't have fire sprinklers, or no houses in this property has fire sprinklers, but this house has fire sprinklers, and it's the closest one out to here, somebody's going to gobble that up. You see what I mean? So things to consider when building a house, especially close to a forest. Look and see, talk to your building department, find out, hey, are we zoned fairly close? How far are we off from a zoned area? Maybe you're only a mile from a zoned area or something. Look in the area, do some checking. When was the last time there was a fire around here? How many houses burned down if there was a fire? How can we possibly prevent that from happening on this house after we get it built? Stuff like that. Do your due diligence so you can make an intelligent decision. Well, now I just made a second video. The first video that I made, I talked about HOA requirements and stuff like that. And now I just talked about fire sprinklers. Well, next time, I'm not going to talk about it now. It's getting dark. Next time I come out here, maybe I'll talk about it. I'll talk about handicap issues. Handicap issues? Well, yeah. There's certain things to think about when building a house. So stick around and keep watching my videos, and I'll tell you all about my thought process when it comes to handicap requirements, handicap issues going into a brand new house. Oh yeah, look at that beautiful last bit of sunset, and that tells me it's pretty much time to go home.